Good morning. This is the Colorado Energy and Carbon Management Commission. It is August 20th. It's 9 a.m. We start our business agenda with a roll call.
Commissioner Ackerman,
Here.
Commissioner Cross,
Present.
Commissioner Mesner,
Here.
Commissioner Oath,
Here.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner, you have five commissioners present.
And five is a quorum, so we are happy to dance today. So we move to commissioner comments. Does anyone have comments for the good of the cause? All right, me either. We're all doing good work here, and we will continue. We had a general public comment period set aside. The one person that signed up wanted to have conversation on the Wild Earth Guardian petition, which is now slated for September 17th. And so they've now realizing that Commissioner Pinter from Adams County has agreed that she would like to do either written or public comments on the 17th. And so we don't have commissioner or public comment today. So we move to consent agenda. Does anyone have questions on consent? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. Do we have further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, we have two no, we have three, maybe. No, two. OGPs on the docket. We start with 241-200-299, an oil and gas development plan application from Kier McGee. That includes a presentation from Jamie Joseph and Kelsey Wazelinski. And we start with Mr. Kavanaugh from Will County, who we always appreciate you being with us to provide perspective from the local government on potential OGDPs. Go ahead. Mr. Kavanaugh, you seem to be muted. Still muted. Yeah, still muted, unless other commissioners are hearing things. Always wise to start and stop and reset. So here we go. Right, looks like he's rejoining. Great to see you again, Mr. Kavanaugh, but we still can't hear you. I'm sorry. Hearings Manager Smeltz, is there anything we can do on our end?
I'm going to reach out, Mr. Kavanaugh, and I'll try and see if I can unmute him from my side. I'm not quite sure. We've also promoted Miss Snyder. I'm not sure if she needs to do a comment before, and we're promoting the rest of the panel. Mr.
Is
Kavanaugh,
Snyder with Will County?
Miss Snyder's with the town of Platteville.
Oh, okay.
I believe she needs to be on this one. I'm going to try and, Mr. Kavanaugh, I'm going to message you in the chat.
Ms. Snyder, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to provide some local government comments while we're waiting on Mr. Kavanaugh?
Absolutely.
Go
Yes.
ahead. We look forward to hearing from you. And we haven't heard from you very often, but we love to hear from the local government that's involved in these oil and gas development plans. So thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I know the town of Platteville appreciates the opportunity to participate, so thank you. Again, I'm
Go ahead.
Angela Snyder with the town of Platteville. The town of Platteville we approve new oil and gas development facilities through our special use permit process. Unlike many jurisdictions, our special use permit process is administrative and doesn't have any hearings. The application for the dandelion-fed pad was received from Kier McGee on February 4th, 2025, and sent to several referral agencies for comment. We received responses indicating no concerns from Central Weld County Water District and Weld County, and many agencies did not respond. The Platteville-Gilchrist Fire Protection District did give us some comments that we incorporated into the permit, but they did not express any concerns. The town engineer requested an updated traffic study and a road maintenance agreement for improvements to and use of Platteville roads. The special use permit was then conditionally approved on April 3rd, 2025. The applicant has since then submitted an updated traffic study and revised the haul route to use less of Platteville's roads. And they have requested that the road maintenance agreement be waived. The town manager is reviewing that revised haul route right now and has not yet made a determination if a road maintenance agreement is still needed. But that is where we are at with the dandelion pad. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good. And we appreciate the information regarding the local transportation infrastructure and stuff, because that's not really our protocol, and we rely on the local government to sort of give us some perspective on that. So that's helpful. Does anyone have questions of Ms. Snyder? Go ahead, Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Snyder, for being here and providing the comment. I just wanted to make sure, for clarity purposes, you said that the town manager is reviewing the revised haul route. Are there concerns about the haul route? Is this the one that you were trying to get, and you're just talking about the actual waiver is now the issue?
So the haul route, the revised route, appears to still use our County Road 32, which just a very small portion of it still is in Platteville. And so the idea is that the town would most likely still require a road maintenance agreement, but just for that small portion up on 32 between Highway 85 and the cemetery.
Okay, but the haul route is acceptable.
It is, yes.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for the clarifying questions, Commissioner Cross. Any other questions of the witness from commissioners? Mr. Kavanaugh, I see you have your hand up. Does that mean you're ready to talk, or do you have questions of Ms. Snyder?
No, I think I finally have audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. It's great to hear you. We saw you quite a bit, but that doesn't
No,
have
it doesn't do anything.
All right. So we've heard from Ms. Snyder from Platteville. We'll now hear from Weld County on this OGDP. Go ahead, Mr. Kavanaugh.
No, and I appreciate your patience as I was working through my audio issues. I still am not sure what happened. So, well, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak for a few minutes regarding the Weld County WOGLA process for Kerr-McGee's Mountain West Oil and Gas Development Plan. On August 28, 2024, Weld County held a pre-application meeting for the Juniper-fed well pad and facility, which comprises 2 of the 3 locations making up the Mountain West OGDP before you today. The 3rd location, the Dandelion-fed HZ, is within the town limits of Platteville. We respect the land use authority of town of Platteville and have no comments or additional BMPs we would recommend at the Dandelion-fed HZ. Attendees of the Weld County pre-application meeting included the applicant, ECMC, CDPHE, CPW, and the town of Platteville. The 1041 WOGLA application for both the Juniper-fed well pad and facility were received on February 3rd, 2025. Weld County did not receive any applications for intervention for either of those locations. And during the 1041 WOGLA hearing held on May 8th, 2025, the hearing officer considered testimony from OJED staff here at Weld County and the applicant, and both applications were approved. Final orders were recorded with the Weld County Clerk and Recorder and published in the Greeley Tribune on May 17th, 2025, creating a vested property right for these 2 permits. 2A comments were submitted to the ECMC on July 5th, 2025, and are included in the director's recommendations. Weld County agrees with the director's recommendations and supports approval.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Kavanaugh. Again, always appreciative of the local government perspective on oil and gas development plans that come before us. We're working hard to make sure that perspective is received in a manner that is fruitful for our discussion. Commissioner Messner is working on that, and so I'm sure he's going to be in touch. But on this particular plan, we look to my fellow commissioners to see if anyone has questions. All right, seeing none. Thank you very much for making sure that the audio was working there. We'll let you go, and we'll bring forward the applicant and all the witnesses. And the next step would be for swearing in of witnesses. Mr. Boudreau is our Attorney General to help us with that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll ask each of the witnesses to please be visualized And when I call your name, raise your right hand, state your first and last name, and swear to tell the truth. We'll start with Byron Griffin.
Byron Griffin, I swear to tell the truth.
Carissa Cray.
Carissa Cry, I swear to tell the truth.
Chad Schlechtenmeyer.
Chad Schlechtmeyer, I swear to tell the truth.
Chris Hallman.
He's muted.
Chris Holman, I swear to tell the truth.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. Corey Altenberg.
Corey Altenberg, I swear to tell the truth.
David Crowder.
David Crowder, I swear to tell the truth.
Justin Nelson.
Justin Nelson, I swear to tell the truth.
Scott Meyer.
Scott Meyer, I swear to tell the truth.
Rachel Friedman.
Rachel Friedman, I swear to tell the truth.
Paige Stetzel.
Paige Stetzel, I swear to tell the truth.
Miss Jost, Miss Wozlinki, did I get everyone?
Matt
Maybe
Wells.
Mr. Wells.
Was Matt Wells sworn in?
Mr. Matt Wells.
Matt Wells, I swear to tell the truth.
We also have Nicholas Loundagen. Sorry if I.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholas Loundigan.
Nicholas Lounigan, swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
That should do it.
Very good. Ms. Wazelinki, as a lawyer, you will always tell the truth, so we don't swear you in. And we look forward to hearing from you on the presentation of the case in chief.
Thank you, Chair. We'll get our PowerPoint up and running, and then I'll get started. So it looks like Rachel Friedman is going to be screen sharing, and she doesn't have share. Oh, there she is. Looks like that's worked out. Perfect.
Yeah, looks
Okay.
good.
It looks great. Well, good morning, commissioners. My name's Kelsey Wazelinki with Jost Energy Law. And with Jamie Jost, we represent Kerr McGee in the Mountain West OGDP before you today in docket 2412-00299. I would like to thank Ms. Snyder and Director Kavanaugh for their comments today, and both the town of Platteville and Weld County for their participation through the local government permitting processes and their support of this OGDP. And we'd also like to thank ECMC staff and the director for their efforts on this OGDP. Next slide. The Mountain West OGDP proposes 3 new oil and gas locations: the Dandelion-fed HZ pad to develop 8 new horizontal wells, the Juniper-fed HZ pad to develop 16 new horizontal wells, and the Juniper-fed Dandelion-fed facility to receive production from both well pads. In addition, the Mountain West OGDP proposes 1 approximate 2,560-acre drilling and spacing unit to develop the 24 horizontal wells for the Niobrara, Fort Hays, Codell, Carlisle, and Sharon Springs formations. There are federal minerals within the proposed DSU, and Kerr McGee will submit a communitization agreement to the BLM prior to drilling operations for a well within the application lands. As Kerr McGee will describe today, the federal APDs will be submitted in early October, and we anticipate approval by the spring of 2026. The Dandelion Fed Pad is located in the town of Platteville, and as Ms. Snyder mentioned, the special use permit was approved in June of 2025. Both the Juniper Fed Pad and facility are located in Weld County, and as Director Kavanaugh stated, the WOGLAs were approved in May of 2025. This OGDP triggers 1 Rule 304 ALA criteria for 1 RBU within 2,000 feet of the Dandelion Fed Pad. Kerr McGee conducted an ALA, consulted with this RBU owner, and obtained the RBU owner's informed consent. Therefore, the review of this OGDP is under Rule 604B1. The locations do not meet any other ALA criteria and specifically are not within 2,000 feet of any high occupancy building units, schools, childcare facilities, nursing homes, hospitals, or designated outdoor activity areas. In addition, the locations are not within any CPW mapped high priority habitat. Kerr McGee consulted with CDPHE as part of this OGDP due to the presence of the RBU within 2,000 feet of the Dandelion Fed Pad, and will describe its consultation with both CDPHE, the RBU owner, and residents outside of 2,000 feet in the presentation today. Furthermore, Kerr McGee conducted robust community engagement as part of this OGDP, exceeding regulatory requirements and ensuring true community participation with respect to the proposed development. I do want to highlight that following the consultation with CDPHE, Kerr-McGee commits to utilizing high line power for drilling all wells in the Mountain West OGDP. In addition, based on recent consultation with the Platteville School District, Kerr-McGee is proposing a modification to the transportation plan and proposes a new BMP, which Kerr-McGee will agree to as a COA. And this BMP reads as follows. On County Road 32, Kerr-McGee will not operate heavy haul vehicles such as sand trucks during pre-production or completion operations during school bus pickup and drop-off hours of 6:15 a.m. to 7:15 a.m. and 4:00 p.m. to 5:15 p.m. During these timeframes, Kerr-McGee may continue to operate light-duty passenger vehicles. I'm happy to reiterate this BMP during Commissioner questions or deliberations as appropriate. Within the Director recommendation is an additional condition of approval regarding Kerr-McGee submitting updated reference area photos taken during the peak growing season within 12 months of the Form 2A approval. Kerr-McGee agrees to this COA. As part of the Mountain West OGDP, Kerr-McGee has committed to plugging and reclaiming 108 wells within 1 year of all new wells turning onto production and decommissioning 53 facilities. Kerr-McGee will describe the associated emissions reductions in the presentation today. And finally, Kerr-McGee has complied with all notice requirements for the Mountain West OGDP. No formal petitions were filed and no public comments were received on the Form 2As. I'll now turn it over to Matt Wells with Kerr-McGee to continue the presentation.
Mr. Wells.
Thank you. Yes, good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Matt Wells, and I am a regulatory advisor for Kerr-McGee Oil and Gas Onshore, a subsidiary of Oxy USA. Joining me this morning are several subject matter experts here to answer any questions you may have. Here on this slide, you can see an overview of our permitting timeline for this project, from the pre-application meeting with Weld County, the town of Platteville, the ECMC, the CDPHE, and CPW in August of 2024. The Vogel hearing was held in May of 2025, in which it was approved, and we received final special use permit approval from Platteville in June of 2025. July of 2025, we did receive the director's recommendation, and noteworthy here is that we received no public comment and no petitions were filed for this OGDP proposal. Next slide. Here you can see our estimated phases of operation timeline for both the Juniper Fed and the Dandelion Fed well pads. The Juniper wells will be drilled and completed in one occupation in 2026, while the Dandelion Fed wells will be planned for one occupation in 2028. Next slide. The Mountain West OGDP has 3 Form 2As associated with it. We are proposing 2 well pads and 1 production facility. The DSU you can see here is west and southwest of the town of Platteville. Numerous site options were scoped for the Mountain West wells, including adding them to existing facilities in the area. After an extensive search, the best and least impactful locations were chosen and presented to you today. All 24 Mountain West wells will require federal permits, so which we plan to submit in October of 2025. Next slide, please. We'll start with the Juniper Fed. Juniper Fed pad will consist of 16 horizontal wells. Kerr-McGee has an executed surface use agreement in place and has received approved 1040 WOGLA from Weld County. In these photos of the proposed location, you can see that it's situated in a rural part of Weld County. The proximate local government is the town of Platteville, and they have no concerns with this proposal. And no Rule 304B2 criteria are met. Next slide, please. Here we have a look at the location and proximity to receptors. As you can see, there are 0 building units, 0 residential building units, and 0 high occupancy building units within 2,000 feet. There are no schools or daycares or designated outside activity areas as well within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. The closest residential building unit is 2,037 feet to the west. The boundary to the nearest DIC is 4,363 feet away to the northwest. Next slide, please. The proposed location is not within high priority habitat nor floodplains. Burrowing owl surveys were performed and no owls were identified. Kerr-McGee will perform environmental, surveys per CPW's guidance prior to the start of construction. And if any issues are identified, we will consult with them. CPW has reviewed this proposal and they have no concerns. Next slide, please. Here we have the dandelion fed horizontal pad, which will consist of 8 horizontal wells. In the picture in the middle, you can see where the pad is and how it's situated on the east side of Highway 85, next to the dairy farm in that area. Kerr-McGee has an executed surface use agreement in place and has received approval for the special use permit from the town of Platteville. Again, Weld County is the proximate local government of this proposal, and they had no concerns with this proposal. One, Rule 304B2 criteria was triggered with this proposal. There's 1 RBU within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. Kerr-McGee has performed an alternative location analysis, which I will go into depth in a future slide. But we were also able to get surface owner to sign informed consent for this proposed site. Next slide, please. Here we have a look at the proposed location and the proximity to receptors. You can see that 1 residential building unit to the south of the working pad surface at 1,873 feet away. Again, there are no high occupancy building units, no schools or daycares or designated outside activity areas within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. The proposed working pad surface is not in a DIC, and the nearest DIC boundary is 1,624 feet to the west along Highway 85. Next slide, please. As a result of that RBU within 2,000 feet, Kerr-McGee did submit an alternative location analysis. 3 locations were considered and submitted. I'll walk through each one of them for you. All 3 reviewed are in section 23 on the west side of the DSU. ALA in the northeast, northwest section of 23 is outside of the DSU, and it has 1 RBU within 2,000 feet and is not located in a DIC. However, this site is in high priority habitat, and this site would require us to build an additional facility. And lastly, where this site is located, the surface owner did not want development here. On the next ALA, located in the northwest of the northeast of section 23, is inside the DSU and has 0 RBUs within 2,000 feet, but it is situated in the DIC boundaries. This site is not in high priority habitat, but is up gradient from an NWI freshwater pond. This site would also require an additional facility to be built, and the surface owner also did not want development in this area. The last ALA is the northeast southwest section of 23, which is outside of the DSU. This site has 5 residential building units within 2,000 feet. It is outside the DIC and HPH. It would also require an additional facility to be built, and the surface owner did not want development here. So you can see that the preferred dandelion-fed well pad location is the most protective option and will allow Kerr-McGee to fully develop the DSU. Next slide, please. The proposed location for dandelion-fed is not within high priority habitat, floodplains, or wetlands. Burrowing owl surveys were performed by third-party environmental consultant, and no owls were identified. However, during the review process, CPW did have some concerns with the prairie dog burrow to the east of the location, and that it potentially could have burrowing owls nesting in them. Hearing their concerns, Kerr-McGee agreed to add 2 additional burrowing owl and migratory best management practices. Kerr-McGee will perform environmental surveys per CPW guidance prior to the start of construction, and if any issues are identified, we will consult the CPW before starting. Next slide, please. And last, we have the production facility. The proposed production facility will be fully electrified and will be of our oil tankless design. There will be gas and oil pipeline takeaway at this facility. Unfortunately, there will not be produced water takeaway from this facility, and I'll go more into detail on that in a future slide. Kerr-McGee does have an executed surface use agreement in place and has received approval from Weld County, and the proximate local government, again, town of Platteville, has no concern with this proposal. And lastly, for the facility, no Rule 304(b)(2) criteria are met. Next slide, please. The proposed production facility has no critical receptors within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. The closest residential building unit is 2,023 feet to the northwest, and the boundary to the nearest DIC is 5,144 feet away to the northwest. Next slide, please. The proposed facility location is not within high priority habitat nor floodplains. Burrowing owl surveys were performed as well here, and no owls were identified. Again, like the other sites, we will perform environmental surveys before work is started, and if any issues are identified, we will consult with the CPW. Next slide, please. Kerr-McGee is committed to plugging and abandoning 108 older wells and decommission 53 facilities with this Mountain West OGDP application. 13 of those wells are in high priority habitat, and 4 of those wells are in a DIC. And of the 108, 91 of them are within 2,000 feet of an RBU, with the closest one being 305 feet away from an RBU. Removing these facilities will remove 43 oil tanks and 39 produced water tanks from the area and eliminate approximately 2,300 truck trips to this area. When it all said and done, Kerr-McGee will have reclaimed approximately 26 more acres that will ultimately be disturbed by the Mountain West OGDP project. Next slide, please. There was a lot of discussion with both Weld County and Platteville around the haul route and the planning of this route, especially since there is no direct access off County Road 30 to Highway 85. Kerr-McGee listened to the concerns of Platteville about the usage of frontage of Front Street and avoided traffic going on this road. Traffic for both Juniper and Dandelion is routed first to the east away from the direction of Platteville. Later on in the presentation, my colleague Paige will describe our ongoing stakeholder outreach with Platteville and the school district, and can tell you more about our communications and best management practices about Weld County Road 32. Next slide, please. Going back to the evaluation of produced water takeaway, Kerr-McGee evaluates produced water management at a regional level, and this location was no different. Part of that scoping process is to evaluate if there are any viable third-party pipeline options in the area that we could tie into. Unfortunately for this area, there are none. So the nearest capable saltwater disposal is about 9 miles to the southwest. And our evaluation shows that building that pipeline to that saltwater disposal would be fairly impactful. About 56 plus acres of disturbance, with a lot of that disturbance occurring through a high priority habitat, floodplains, and a DIC. So with those considerations in place, we believe trucking the produced water is the least impactful method. Next slide, please. In respects to emissions, this graph here shows the reported CO2 intensities for Kerr-McGee's newest facilities, which have been commenced operations after December of 2022. You can see the orange, green, and blue lines from the Regulation 7 new facility intensity requirements from the year 2023 to 2030. As you can see along the x-axis, the blue bars represent Kerr-McGee's newest facilities commissioned after that December 30, 2022 date, and their respective levels of CO2 intensities. You can see all these facilities are significantly below the thresholds that have been set by the CDPHE. Kerr-McGee's NOx intensity is 62% below CDPHE Regulation 7 targets. We're very proud of that. The other thing I'd like to highlight is the drilling rig power commitment. Kerr-McGee commits to using high-line powered electric drilling rig for the Juniper and Dandelion fed wells. Next slide, please. Kerr-McGee did have the opportunity to consult with CDPHE on this project. First at the pre-application meeting back in August of 2024, and then again, the official consultation in June of 2025. As a result of that consultation and the completion of our Highline feasibility study, Gee is now in a position to commit to that highline drilling of all the Mountain West wells. So that would bring our total of CDPHE best management practices up to 33. Next slide, please. Here you can see just a few of our many best management practices that we'll be implementing to minimize our operational impacts. This includes inspections, temporary emission control devices, drilling rig with sound reduction features, and quiet completion fleet. The grading and drainage plans were approved by Weld County and by the town of Platteville. Next slide, please. Air monitoring plan for this OGDP will be approved by the CDPHE, and our air monitoring summaries for this location will be submitted to the CDPHE. Over the past 4 years, you can see that using our approved air monitoring program, Kerr-McGee has collected thousands of air samples spanning all phases of oil and gas development, and all results, as shown on this graph here, are well below the CDPHE health guidance value of 9 parts per billion. I would like to now hand the presentation over to Paige to discuss our stakeholder outreach.
Thank you, Matt. My name is Paige Stetzel, and I'm a member of our stakeholder relations team here at Oxy. As you can see, there was extensive stakeholder outreach conducted for the Mountain West OGDP. Our stakeholder relations team has been heavily engaging in this area for over a year and well before submission, beginning in June of 2024. Informed consent was secured from the RBU located approximately 1,837 feet from the Dandelion Fed location. The RBU located approximately 2,020 feet from the Dandelion Fed working pad surface, and approximately 2,020 feet from the Juniper Fed working pad surface signed a letter of support for the project. Soon after permit submittal, a large sign detailing the proposed project was placed to encourage questions and comments from those driving along County Road 30. You can see a photo of this sign on the right side of this slide. We held one in-person community meeting and one virtual community meeting for adjacent stakeholders to the project. While those were lightly attended, it was a good chance for our subject matter experts to interact with those that did attend. As with every mailing and meeting, we uploaded all of the informational materials to our stakeholder relations website for anyone to review and reference. We communicated with the local elementary school, Platteville Elementary, and the Weld County School District RE1 for feedback on the project. In July, Oxy was able to touch base with the Weld County School District RE1 to discuss if there were any questions or concerns that the school had on the proposed OGDP. The school district had questions regarding the haul route and planned student pickup and drop-off times as they relate to our truck traffic. Therefore, Oxy worked with the school district to restrict heavy vehicle traffic during bus drop-off between 6:15 to 7:15 a.m. and pickup from 4 to 5:15 p.m. during the early stages of the project and the completions phase. Light-duty traffic, such as pickup trucks, will continue to run their routes as their numbers are minimal. We will remind all crews to be mindful of the school bus route and to drive safely and responsibly during the specified times. During the completions phase, which has the heaviest traffic volumes, Oxy will restrict sand hauling during bus pickup and drop-off times. Light-duty truck traffic will be maintained during these times. We will remind all crews to be mindful of the school bus route and to drive safely and responsibly. The school district told us that they feel our plan is sufficient and they have no further questions or concerns regarding the project. Oxy will continue to work with the school district regarding transportation safety and any issues that might arise to ensure we are responding to the health and safety concerns around school zones. We will work with the LAS to ensure these BMPs are added to the Form 2A following this hearing. I do want to highlight the over 2,300 households that were communicated with for the community meeting invitations, WOGLA notices, completeness notices, and the informational notice for this project. This includes many duplicate recipients for the 4 separate notices or community meeting invites, residential building units and parcels 4,000 feet from the OGDP, as well as mineral owners. The Dandelion Fed, Juniper Fed, and facility locations are not within a DIC at the time of submission. The OGDP was submitted under pre-implementation of the new cumulative impact rulemaking. At the time of submission, the OGDP was not within a DIC, but did have a DIC within 4,000 feet of an RBU within a DIC of the dandelion-fed and juniper-fed working pad surface. We voluntarily held a virtual meeting, in-person meeting, and sent completeness to those within 4,000 feet of the OGDP in good faith of the upcoming CIC rulemaking. Our success is rooted in the diverse and vibrant communities where we live and work. We engage with those who work or live near operations to understand their priorities and address issues proactively. We're committed to fair treatment for all, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, and work closely with historically marginalized and environmentally impacted communities to understand their unique needs. Next slide, please. We've been engaging with the community on this project since June of 2024 and have had the opportunity to connect with various stakeholders throughout multiple communication channels since then. As we continue engagement with stakeholders in the area, they shared feedback about the proposed project. The majority of questions revolved around dust mitigation and our haul route. They were pleased to hear about our dust mitigation plan and haul route that was planned specifically to avoid as many receptors as possible. Next slide, please. Finally, I would like to note that Kerr-McGee is already intentional with its significant giving in Colorado. One of our top pilots for community giving has been the building and distributing bikes at Platteville Elementary School, which is the designated elementary school for children in the Platteville area. I will hand this presentation back over to Matt. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Paige. To summarize the Mountain West OGDP and wrap our presentation up, I'd just like to remind the Commission that no petitions or public comment were received against this application, that Weld County and Platteville have both approved these applications at the local level, that Kerr-McGee commits to drilling all of these wells on highline power, and Kerr-McGee commits to plugging 108 older wells and remove 53 facilities, reclaiming 36 acres in this area. Thank you for your time and consideration today. I will now hand it back over to Ms. Wazelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. This last slide shows the relief requested for the Mountain West OGDP. This does conclude our presentation. Kerr-McGee has a number of subject matter experts on the hearing today. So at this point, I think we can take the PowerPoint down. And if everyone could please turn on their cameras, we are open for your questions.
Very good. Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate all the folks visualizing themselves for questions. I have comments, but I don't have questions, so I'll turn to my fellow commissioners if anyone has questions. Commissioner Ackerman and then Commissioner Cross.
Thank you, and great presentation and materials and great work. A lot of great things about this proposal. I do have just a couple of questions. The first one is, did you consider consolidation of the facility to one of the pads for 2 locations rather than 3? And can you elaborate on why you went with 3 instead of consolidation of that facility? And then I saw some language in there that was committing to highline power for all production equipment, in addition to the drill rigs, which you talked about today. But there was some interesting language I haven't seen before, which said excluding external combustion sources. And so if you could just clarify what you mean by that, I think that, I mean, that's a little vague to me. Well, I think it stands alone. It's a little vague. And so if you can just elaborate on that for me on those 2 points, thanks.
Sure, I'll attack the first part of your question with the combination of all 3 facilities. Yes, definitely was looked at in scope to see if all the wells could be done from one location. Could they be done and added to an existing facility in the area? A lot was explored and looked at. You know, our hope was initially, and this is 2 years ago, planning to add these to an existing facility in the area. Where that gets complicated is the federal permits and the federal minerals, and keeping those separate from other production facilities is very challenging. At the end of the day, required this OGDP to have its own production facility. So once that was determined, we went forward with that plan. Now, getting all 24 wells in that entire DSU, it was difficult for the land. Like if we were to put them all in the juniper fed in the south location, it'd be very difficult to reach the far northern end of that DSU. So for full mineral extraction, we had to break it up like you see today. to be able to reach the full DSU from the locations where we could, to get outside of, any RBUs, to get outside of any of the high priority habitat and stuff like that. Would you please repeat the second part of your question?
I will. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wells, for that response. And then just to clarify on that, did you also consider maybe co-locating the facility location with one of the pads as you considered this proposal?
Sure, definitely co-location was a part of our scoping process. And I think end of the day, it comes down to what the surface owner was wanting with their use of that land and how big the footprints would be. And having Dandelion be a separate pad to the northwest and having a flow line that will reach the production facility, finding something in the middle of those two pads is what worked best for meeting our objective. But it was definitely scoped.
Thank you. I know there are many logistics and many considerations throughout the years that go into this, and I appreciate your brief on that. The second question was, usually we see language that when operators are committing to highline power for permanent powered production equipment on site, often we just see that commitment. This one we see a commitment to that, but then it says excluding external combustion sources. And so I'm just wondering if you can elaborate on why that language and what those external combustion sources might be.
Sure. I'm going to hand this question so it gets answered properly over to our air manager, Chris Cry.
Yeah, that language was just to make clear that we do have heaters on our separators that are gas driven that we operate outside of ozone season, and those would not be electrified, which is pretty standard for a production facility design.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification, Ms. Cry. That's all I have in the way of questions, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Further questions for the panel? Commissioner Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I wanted to try and get some clarity on the completions, especially in the Dandelion near the school. And I know that there was some discussion about trying to have traffic being consistent with when school bus routes are, et cetera. And I noticed that it's set for completions in the Dandelion in Q2. And so I was wondering if there was any thought of having those completions pushed a little bit just to make sure that the completions started in Q2 once the school year ends, to try and avoid any kind of completions near the school year, and especially near the school.
Yes, definitely. I'll tackle this question. Following the CDPHE's consultation, Kerr-McGee was able to commit to highline power drilling rigs for all the Mountain West wells. And we heard their concerns about the timing of completions for Dandelion Fed in respect to the school. Unfortunately, with other timing constraints already in place for other OGDPs, we can't fully commit to having Dandelion Fed completion being fully in the summer months when school is out. But with that said, I would like to highlight the fact that we are utilizing, Tier 4 engines for completions and remain the operator with, the lowest emission intensity in the state.
Okay, so you have potentially contracts with in other locations that you're doing completions that prevent it from being pushed back perhaps a month or so.
Exactly. We have other timing criteria and stipulations in place. And so it really limits us, unfortunately, in our flexibility and being able to fully commit to that timing piece for Dandelion Fed.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Further questions for the panel? Commissioner Messmer?
Thanks. Just to follow up a little more on the school piece and acknowledging that the school has indicated that there's no further concerns, but maybe provide a little more color as far as the bus drop off between 6:15 and 7:15. It seems early for schools, and so is that when all the students come in, or was there additional drop offs that happen later after that, or what's the scene there?
Yeah, we've had some great conversations with the school district, and Paige has done an excellent job. So I'm going to let Paige kind of describe more of that.
Thanks, Matt. So we communicated with the Weld County School District to figure out when their bus pickup and drop off times would be. And those are the times that are provided for us. There's 6 students total that get picked up along that route. Then those are the times they board or get dropped off by the bus.
Okay, so that's on the route itself. That's not pickup drop-off times at the school itself.
That's correct.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thanks.
Appreciate the clarification. Further questions? Let's see. I'm not seeing further questions from the commission. Therefore, Ms. Wesselinki will let the panel unvisualize or go away or go to other business, and we'll return it to the commission for deliberations. So starting deliberations, I just want to reflect that to Colorado as a whole, this is, I think, a very good example of OG oil and gas development plans that are coming to us in 2025. We find that they are working with local governments and establishing a good rapport with local governments and a good consensus from local governments that they're comfortable with what's being done. They're providing best management practices upfront. Highline Power is a good example. They also are answering questions that we're going to ask, like, why aren't you providing a pipeline for water? And in this instance, there's a good explanation for that. It's 9 miles away to get to a water facility, and so trucking makes sense versus pipelines. So they're answering questions that the commission would, in my mind, and I'm just one commissioner, would otherwise be asking. I really appreciate the detailed information regarding working with the local governments and working with folks that are nearby with signage and stakeholder engagement. There was no petitions on this. The local governments approved it. So I just, at the end of the day, I want to applaud the applicant for really doing a good job of understanding our regulations that are protective and finding a way to, in my mind, submit something that's provable to the commission. Those are my deliberative thoughts. Sorry I went forward without asking my other commissioners, but do other commissioners have deliberative thoughts? Commissioner Ackerman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your comments as well. I appreciate that this application is well done, and that while there is always a bump or two in applications, even those that are well done, I appreciate the communications that have gone out. I wanted to note that this operator mentioned a couple of things during their presentation in just kind of a passing way, but these are large commitments. These are large endeavors, reclaiming 108 wells, decommissioning 53 facilities, and with a net reclamation of 26 acres is a one-line comment in the presentation, but is a very significant commitment and represents significant work and cleanup and reclamation work associated with this project. Also, again, we mentioned Highline Power a couple of times during this presentation, 1 or 2 lines in the presentation, but a significant amount of work went into ensuring that for a significant amount of benefit with regard to emissions, and appreciate this operator's work on always working to implement BMPs proactively in preparation for their presentation to the commission. Also wanted to specifically say thank you for working with CPW on adding a couple of additional BMPs for burrowing owl and migratory bird protection. I appreciated this application. I think it's well done, and I think they adequately answered the questions that were put forward.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ackerman. Other commissioners? Commissioner Cross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll be brief because I do agree with the comments that both you and Commissioner Ackerman gave. I do really appreciate the hard work done on stakeholder relations. I think the stakeholder relations done by Kurt McGee is top notch. Just seeing the pictures of the signs and making sure sometimes you see the signs out there and they're not as easily visible. And I something as simple as making sure that sign is visible so people understand what's coming is very helpful. I do appreciate the work done on the ALA, the work done to secure informed consent, the work done with the local governments, the CPW. I think one of the big things for me is the amount of the cumulative impacts done. The offsets with the plugging and abandonment of wells, the decommissioning of facilities is vital in my opinion, and that's a big part of what we want to do with cumulative impacts is making sure that we are getting rid of the older wells, the older facilities that have the greater potential to leak, that have the greater emissions. You're getting additional surface disturbance back, and there's a lot of great benefits to that. It does cause me a little bit of concern that their completions are not going to, for certain, be after the school year ends, given that it's proximity to the school. As was noted, I do appreciate that the school has said they're fine with it. But I'm hopeful that, as it gets closer to that, given that it is in Q2 as is, I'm hopeful that it can start a little bit further into Q2 to try and avoid any potential impacts to the school with the completions process there. But that was my only real concern with it. Overall, I see a lot of great things with this application, and I will be voting in favor.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. Other commissioners with thoughts, questions, concerns, deliberative thoughts? All right, seeing none, I would move approval of the application. Do we have a second?
I'd second. I note that there's also the COA provided by staff, and we also include the BMP that Ms. Wazowski mentioned as well.
And I think I saw Mr. Boudreau raise his hand. Mr. Boudreau, do you want to add some value add there to the motion?
I was just going to note what Commissioner Cross just noted, that there's a staff COA in the director's recommendation.
All right, so I amend the motion to include the staff COA. Is that appropriate, Mr. Boudreau?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And Commissioner Oath.
I just want to make sure that we're also including the additional COA about the truck timing that was offered by the applicant.
Mr. Boudreau?
Yes, if the movement amends the motion to include the truck timing COA, then it would also be included.
So amended.
Amended second.
All right. Commissioner Ackerman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I had the same comment as Commissioner Oath, but also, is there documentation then of the electric drilling commitment, or does that need to be a COA? I don't think it's in any of the 2As.
Mr. Boudreau, put you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can take a look.
Chair, I'm happy to provide a little insight. I think we will need to add the electric commitment on as a COA.
Okay. At this point, we butchered the motion and the second. AAG Boudreau, as a lawyer, would you refine the motion so that we've got it all straight?
Yes, so I believe a renewed motion, which would include the electric drilling, and sorry, the COA included in the director's recommendation, and then I believe there was a third one that I'm blanking on at the moment. If someone could remind me, Ms. Watson.
The COA offered by the applicant related to truck traffic timing.
Yes, truck traffic timing. So I believe a renewed motion with those three COAs and a second would clear up the record.
All right. I so renew the motion.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. And for the record, everybody that's listening in, these things are like codified down into a written document by our attorney generals within like 20 days or something. And so while it appears that we're gesticulating around, we're not. We've really got this down to a science. So we've got a motion and a second. And I guess the last thing I'd say in my deliberative thoughts on the motion is I want Colorado to know that this is the way things are happening now. We've got operators that understand our protective rules, and they come to us with protective applications, and they understand that those applications require a public discourse. And so this is what we had here. We've got a tremendous amount of stakeholder engagement and public discussion. They come in with good protective elements such as the electrification, et cetera. And then when they can't meet something that we think is important, such as pipeline for water, they explain it. So I think this is a really good explanation of how things are happening in Colorado. I hope folks are paying attention to it and they realize that we're not just sort of rubber stamping things, because we're not. We're requiring things to be done in a good protective manner. Other deliberative thoughts before I call for the roll call. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Wazelinski. Thank you to our staff for getting this to a place where we are able to be comfortable in approving an oil and gas development plan for the state of Colorado. Let's take 10 minutes. It's 10. Let's return at 10:10 and we'll take up our next matter. All right, looks like we're all returning. This is the Energy and Carbon Management Commission of the state of Colorado. It is August 20th. It's 10 a.m. and we're due to take up docket 241-00258, an oil and gas development plan. The applicant is Fulcrum Energy Operating, and the folks that are going to be presenting are from Beatty and Wozniak. Mr. McGee.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning. We'll start with swearing in your witnesses. It looks like they're all visualized. We'll bring in Mr. Bedreau to do the honors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll ask each of the witnesses to please be visualized. Raise your right hand when I call your name. State your first and last name and swear to tell the truth. We'll start with Ryan McKee. Oh, excuse me, that's the attorney. Annalise Penner.
I'm Annalee Penner. I swear to tell the truth.
Doug Sandridge.
I'm Douglas Sandridge, and I swear to tell the truth.
Aaron Ekblad.
I'm Aaron Ekblad, and I swear to tell the truth.
Jason Schmidt.
Jason Schmidt, and swear to tell the truth.
Laura Aronson.
Hi, I'm actually co-counsel with Ryan.
Thank you.
Lawyers don't need to swear to tell the truth, so you're okay.
Mr. McKee, have I gotten all of your witnesses?
I believe that is everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, the visual screen is yours, Mr. McKee.
All right. Annalee, can you go ahead and start the presentation? All right. Well, good morning, everyone, commissioners, ECM staff, and members of the public. My name is Ryan McKee. I'm a shareholder with Beatty and Wozniak, and with my colleague, Laura Aronson, we represent Fulcrum Energy Operating, LLC, and docket number 241-00258, which is an application for the approval of the Alcorn Eagles Watch Oil and Gas Development Plan. The Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP proposes to develop approximately 1,676 acres from one existing oil and gas location targeting the Niobrara Formation. The OGDP proposes to develop lands located entirely within and subject to the Peterson Ridge Federal Exploratory Unit, and as a result, a DSU is not being sought as part of this application. The Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP is located within Jackson County, and Jackson County does not regulate the siting of oil and gas locations. However, Fulcrum has had multiple consultations with Jackson County's local government designee regarding this project, and Jackson County is very supportive of the project, as you will hear more about during the presentation. Fulcrum's presentation today, along with the evidence in the record, demonstrates that the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP allows for mineral development in a manner that avoids, minimizes, and mitigates impacts to the public, environment, and wildlife. A key highlight of the OGDP is the fact that the planned development will utilize an existing pad and will require less than 1 acre of new temporary disturbance. The Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP complies with all substantive and procedural requirements of your rules. There were no comments or protests received for the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP, And the director has reviewed all elements of the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP and has recommended approval pursuant to Rule 306B1, finding that the OGDP complies with all requirements of the ECMC rules and, in the director's judgment, protects and minimizes adverse impacts to the public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources. Joining me today to present is Annalee Pinner from Fulcrum. We will also have a panel of subject matter experts to answer your questions following today's presentation. I will now turn the presentation over to Annalee.
Thanks, Ryan. And good morning, commissioners. I am Annalee Penner, the Vice President of Fulcrum Energy Operating. I'm pleased to present you the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP located in the North Park Basin. The Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP proposes amending an existing location, the PRU Alcorn 0880 S10 pad, in order to drill 4 horizontal wells, 2 saltwater disposal wells, and construct a central production facility on the location. The PRU Alcorn 0880 S10 pad is located on fee surface. The mineral development will target the Niobrara Formation and will occur in the federal Peterson Ridge unit. Jackson County does not regulate the siting of oil and gas locations, but is overwhelmingly supportive of the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP. There is 1 RBU within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface, and Fulcrum obtained informed consent in October 2024. There are no schools, childcare centers, or DI communities within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. Fulcrum has a field-wide wildlife mitigation plan in place with CPW. The PRU Alcorn pad is located in high priority habitat for greater sage grouse and pronghorn winter concentration area. The Enviro score is 8.03 and the OGDP is located in attainment. There are no variances being requested in this OGDP. The mineral development will target the Niobrara Formation and will occur in a federal unit. 4 PRU Alcorn wells will be drilled into the federal Peterson Ridge unit. This unit was approved in October 2011. As previously mentioned, the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP proposes amending an existing location, the PRU Alcorn 0880 S10 pad. This location was approved by ECMC in 2019 and constructed by a previous operator. The utilization of an existing location minimizes surface disturbance and reduces habitat fragmentation in the North Park Basin. Fulcrum's decision to utilize the existing PRU Alcorn pad aligns with ECMC's post-2021 mission change by promoting oil and gas development and minimizing adverse impacts and protecting public health and environment. Fulcrum has consulted with BLM and CPW since 2018, and both agencies prefer infill over greenfield development. The PRU Alcorn pad includes an existing well that is not part of this OGDP. By utilizing an existing location, this OGDP proposes disturbing a small area for a temporary access road that will be reclaimed after drilling and completion operations. The current size of the oil and gas location is 5.681 acres. The only additional acres we are disturbing is for a temporary access road, which is 0.326 acres. Once the temporary disturbance is reclaimed, the oil and gas location will return to 5.681 acres. Again, by utilizing an existing location, the surface and habitat impact is greatly reduced. There are 2 siting requirements related to the PRU Alcorn pad. The first is an RBU located within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface, and the second is the pad is immediately up gradient from a mapped riverine wetland. CPW granted an ALA waiver for greater sage grouse habitat. in December of 2023. Fulcrum performed a third-party field-verified wetland survey. The survey identified the PRU Alcorn pad is located 131 feet up gradient from a mapped riverine wetland. However, the director's recommendation noted the PRU Alcorn pad is located in a sensitive area for water resources. Fulcrum confirms this is an intermittent stream and is only in existence during snow runoff. In order to protect this riverine wetland, Fulcrum has committed to a tertiary containment around the entire location and installing additional liners during drilling and completion operations. An RBU, who is a local and full-time resident, is located approximately 1,500 feet from the southwest edge of the working pad surface. And Fulcrum obtained informed consent in October 2024. Fulcrum has entered into a higher permissible noise agreement with CPW, limiting the noise to 92 dBA during drilling and completions. In conjunction with the RBU, Fulcrum entered into a higher permissible noise agreement to further limit the noise to 80 dBA during drilling and completions. Due to the proximity of the RBU, Fulcrum has implemented several best management practices, including using Group 3 drilling fluids, continuous air monitoring during drilling and completion operations, followed by 6 months of air monitoring during the production phase. And Fulcrum will also install permanent sound walls during the production phase to limit noise from the data centers. There will be no routine flaring, and all tank emissions are routed to sales, limiting the emissions impact. Again, there are no schools, childcare centers, or DI communities within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. An ALA was considered for the PRU Alcorn pad due to the proximity of the RBU and being up gradient from a mapped riverine wetland. Fulcrum considered 3 alternative locations, all of which required new surface disturbance. Location 1 and 2 are owned by BLM, who preferred the utilization of the existing PRU Alcorn 0880 S10 pad over new surface disturbance. Location 2 is also closer to the sage-grouse lek, and location 3 is located closer to the sage-grouse lek, and the landowner did not support the location. The preferred location, the existing PRU Alcorn pad, reduces new disturbance to 0.326 acres and avoids habitat fragmentation and aligns with the ECMC post-2021 mission changes. Again, Jackson County does not regulate the siting of oil and gas locations, but Fulcrum has been in contact with Jackson County regarding the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP. Jackson County waived pre-application notice requirements and noted they had no objections to the proposed plans. Recently, the county administrator, Samantha Martin, provided a letter of support to the commission. In 2023, oil and gas made up a remarkable 44% of Jackson County's total assessed property value, proving that North Park is not just a project, it's an economic backbone. Fulcrum completed several on-sites with the BLM. Federal APDs have been submitted concurrently with this OGDP to develop federal minerals. Fulcrum expects approval in time to commence operations, and we do not believe the federal APD approval will hold up the timeline of this project. In addition to the BLM, Fulcrum completed on-sites with CPW dating back to 2018. CPW also supports the utilization of the existing PRU Alcorn pad, and the director is recommending approval of this OGDP with no additional conditions. You heard about the location and relevant stakeholders, Jackson County, BLM, and CPW. I now want to focus on how the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP avoids, minimizes, and mitigates impacts to public health, environment, and wildlife. The North Park Basin has a field-wide wildlife mitigation plan in conjunction with CPW. This plan has been in effect since August 2021. The intent is a landscape scale avoidance, minimization, and mitigation strategy to more effectively protect wildlife resources in the North Park Basin. The plan covers multiple wildlife species and habitats. It includes areas of full avoidance and no surface occupancy. The plan outlines agreed upon BMPs to minimize disturbance and identifies a wildlife stipulation exclusion area near Highway 14. This exclusion area was determined based on the existing impacts and disturbances from the highway. Fulcrum engaged BLM in extensive pre-application consultations. Pre-application field onsites occurred with the CPW. The PRU Alcorn pad is located within the wildlife stipulation exclusion area, so no timing stipulations are in place due to the existing impact from the highway. CPW declined a post-completeness consultation as there are no schools, child care centers, or DI communities within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. A CDPHE consultation was not required pursuant Rule 309F. Upon approval, Fulcrum plans to kick off construction, followed by drilling and completion and flowback operations. Production is planned for the fourth quarter of 2025, followed by interim reclamation in the spring. Injection activity is planned for 2026. During the drilling phase of operations, Fulcrum is committing to using a Tier 2 conventional rig and Group 3 drilling fluid. Fulcrum is committing to a Tier 2 diesel completion fleet. Due to the size of the drilling program and North Park being in an attainment area, Fulcrum is unable to commit to a Tier 4 drilling rig or completions fleet due to low inventory. Typically, these rigs are often under the control or contract by operators located in non-attainment areas. Regardless, Fulcrum will use best efforts to secure a Tier 4 or equivalent rig when possible. Sound walls are not required during the pre-production phase due to the noise agreements in place with the RBU, Jackson County, and CPW. During the production phase, the PRU Alcorn pad will be electrified as utility power is available. Oil will be routed to the tank battery on site and trucked to market. 2 saltwater disposal wells are planned, and as such, water will be injected and disposed of on site. If there is excess water, the water will be routed to the pipeline and sent to other Fulcrum disposal wells located in the field. As noted in the director's recommendation, there is currently no gas pipeline takeaway in the North Park Basin. Fulcrum is not requesting a variance and is committed to complying with Rule 903 as the gas will be beneficially used. Fulcrum is contracted with a third-party company who will purchase the produced gas to power generators for data processing and cloud computing on site. A small volume of gas will be used to run gas-fired equipment. It is important to note that all tank gas will be recovered and sold with the primary gas stream. Fulcrum will only flare during an upset condition to depressurize the system in order to shut in wells. I'm not going to read all the BMPs, but as it relates to the pre-production phase, Fulcrum will use a closed loop system, continuously monitor air emissions, use Group 3 drilling fluid, and utilize dust suppressants. During the production phase, the facility will be electrified, reducing the overall emissions. Continuous air monitoring will occur for the first 6 months of production, and sound walls will be installed to limit the noise from the data centers. As it relates to avoiding impacts to wildlife and habitat, the PRU Alcorn 0880 S10 pad is located within the wildlife stipulation exclusion area along Highway 14, which further avoids impacts to wildlife and habitat. Fulcrum will install and maintain bird deterrent devices. Fulcrum is installing sound walls during the production phase to limit noise from the data centers. This concludes the remarks to the OGDP. I will hand it back to Ryan.
Thank you, Annalee. This marks the final slide in Fulcrum's presentation today and represents a final overview of how the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP avoids, minimizes, and mitigates potential impacts to the public, environment, and wildlife. The Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP will allow for the mineral development of over 1,600 acres from a single existing location that will require less than 1 new acre of temporary disturbance. Fulcrum's utilization of an existing location within the Highway 14 corridor further mitigates and minimizes impacts to wildlife, and as a result, both CPW and BLM support the proposed location. The existing location is located within an attainment area and has an EnviroScreen score of 8.03. And while Jackson County does not regulate the siting of oil and gas locations, Jackson County is in full support of this project. As we stated earlier, no petitions were received against this OGDP and no comments were provided from the public. Lastly, as we previously mentioned, pursuant to the director's recommendation, the Alcorn Eagles Watch OGDP complies with all requirements of the commission's rules and in the director's judgment protects and minimizes adverse impacts to public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources. We would like to thank staff for its thoughtful technical review of this project and for the director's recommendation for approval. And finally, we'd like to thank you, the commissioners, for your attention to today's presentation. And this now concludes our presentation, and the panel is available for your questions. Annalee, you can stop the screen share.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. That was the next point I was going to make, is stop the screen share and give me a chance to see everybody. We now have an opportunity for questions to the panel. Commissioner Ackerman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that, and thank you for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions, largely centered around the noise and the data center, and I recognize the agreement with the local governments is allowed through our regulations under 423B3B. I'm a little unclear on, and my understanding is that's for drilling and completions. I'm a little unclear on the noise levels associated with the data facilities that will be operating long-term on this site. And is the noise variance intended to apply to those data centers, or will the noise emitted from them be within the limit set forth in Regulation 423?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. The noise agreement is only in place for drilling and completions. The sound walls are permanent for the production phase to limit noise from the data centers. Those will be in place again permanently, and the noise from the data centers will be in compliance with ECMC rules.
Thank you for that response. And as far as noise monitoring of the data centers, can you elaborate on how compliance will be ensured there?
That's a great question. We have performed a noise mitigation survey, and it's just from the engineering plan that will confirm it at this point in time. We will revisit that plan again whenever we install those sound walls and confirm that everything is in compliance.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just to make sure that I understand what you're committing to there, is that a commitment to physically monitor that noise once the sound walls and data centers are in place to ensure compliance?
As of now, our plan is not requiring that. The plan itself, the way it is modeled, is once those sound walls are in place, which is on like the east side of the data centers and to the south, the plan is confirming that it's in compliance.
And thank you. And by that, you mean that the engineering projections are proposing that it will be in compliance, but there's not any physical monitoring at this point in place.
Correct.
Thank you. I might think about that just a little bit more and ask you to consider um, ensuring physically that it is within compliance, and want to kind of take your temperature on that and see if that's something that you'd be willing to proactively commit to.
Yeah, I think we would be willing to commit to that. Maybe it could be something that we do for the first 6 months of production, just like air monitoring as well, if that's something the commission would be open to.
I think I appreciate that. I'm not requesting in perpetuity, and I
Yeah.
think that would be excessive, but I do think a measurement of compliance is probably appropriate, as these facilities are relatively rare and we don't have a ton of data associated with them. So I appreciate that. I also noted that, and keeping in mind that I recognize that this is an existing location, it's near the highway, and there are other noise disturbances, and I do understand that. I do think that would be a good way to button up this issue, though. I also noted in CPW, and thank you for your considerable consultation with CPW on this issue, not just specifically to this OGDP, but with the field-wide mitigation plan. I noted that CPW's understanding was that there was a BMP commitment, and it looks like your schedule complies with this, but a specific commitment to conduct drilling and completions outside of March 1 through May 31 in order to protect lekking sage grouse. And while your presentation certainly scheduled it outside of there, I didn't see an explicit commitment to that, and just wanted to ensure that that's within your plans.
Correct. That is within the plans, and that stipulation is only related to the higher permissible noise limit, which Fulcrum's committing to. If we are going to operate or drill and complete wells between, I believe it was like March through June 1st or the end of May, that noise agreement states we can still do that, but we have to be within ECMC noise limits.
Thank you. That was my understanding as well with regard to that exception. And so I may ask for Councillor Boudreau to help me with 2 COAs associated with these 2 points and ensure that they're canonized in this application. That's all I have, Mr. Chair, for questions at this point.
Thank you for the clarifying questions. Appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. Others with questions? Commissioner Messer.
Thank you. I have a few questions about, well, first I want to just ask, we've had a lot of conversations either through variance processes or from prior applications as far as, continue to look at options for oil and gas pipeline takeaway for locations in North Park. And so can you provide any update as far as any additional conversations or any future plans associated with pipeline takeaway to sail lines coming out of the North Park Basin?
Yes, and thank you for the question, Commissioner. I will pass it over to Jason, our VP of Ops, to address.
Thanks, Annalee. Yeah, we are continuing to have those conversations with various groups around that subject. There is interest in it, and it's something we continue to talk to them about and try to find, kind of the timeline and development path that allows them to do that. It is something we're pushing actively and do have a path to. I'll put it that way.
Okay, I appreciate that, and don't know if you've had a chance to look at the 2024 cumulative impacts report, but last year was the first year that North Park was included in the cumulative impacts report, and also had significantly higher than other basins in NOx, VOC, methane, and the amount of storage of oil and condensate than any other basin. And so continued steps towards addressing this through oil and gas takeaway, I think ends up being a really important part for continued operations in North Park, because the data that was provided in that cumulative impacts report showed it wasn't just a little higher than other basins, it was massively higher than other basins on these items. And so I think continuing to look at ways to address those things in future applications, and obviously oil and gas pipeline takeaway addresses a lot of this by itself. And that's not even taking into considerations the emissions associated with the data processing centers. And so, so to me, as a commissioner, as we look at future applications, that's going to be a really important piece for me. I acknowledge that we understand that there was a unique situation in North Park when the mission change rules came in, but it's been 5 years now, and I don't know as we've seen any progress on that kind of infrastructure, and we're starting to see additional applications in this area, and so I think that that's just an important thing to consider as you look at future applications and the need to address those cumulative impacts that are associated and identified in the cumulative impacts reports based on the Form 2Bs that you've provided in previous applications. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about water and produced water recycling. I think there's a significant amount of produced water that's coming out of the formations at North Park. North Park, again, is one of the few areas that uses 100% fresh water in operations. And that's based on one OGDP from last year, right? So I know that there's a limited data set there. But has there been any consideration for looking at opportunities for reuse and recycling of produced water and minimizing the amount of fresh water that's being utilized in operations? And therefore minimizing some of the on-site storage necessary for applications in this area?
In short, yes, there has been some considerations. I'll pass it back to Jason to elaborate more.
Yeah, we've been working with a couple of groups to set up some water recycling programs and water treatment programs. Right now, we do have our produced water is being injected into disposal wells, and we have been starting to clean more of that to use it in operations like workovers and drill outs, those sorts of things. And then we're trying to set up a larger scale treatment facility to be able to use it in a larger way going forward. We're hoping to have that up and running next year, but we are pushing along that route as well.
Okay, seems like an incredible opportunity, the way that I look at it there, similar to opportunities in the Piceance Basin, and unlike some of the opportunities that may be in the DJ Basin, with the levels of produced water that's actually being produced out of the formations in the North Park. I think that I would appreciate, any continued work towards that, especially as we start to see some of the new produced water rules be implemented over the next year or so. I think last question, or just making sure that there's an acknowledgement. The data centers are, being anticipated to be able to use a significant portion of the gas that's associated with the wells in this area. There's consideration for sending that gas to gathering lines to other locations, but the ultimate utilization of that, short of the utilization of it on site, is the data centers. Should there be data centers that go down, or should there be, at some point the third party determines that there's no further need for the utilization of those data centers, is it understood that there would be a requirement to shut in all of the wells that are associated with that until an alternative source, beneficial use of that natural gas or some ability to pipe that away, could be found?
Yes, it is understood. We will not be producing if there is no gas takeaway from data centers or other sources, or we cannot beneficially use it. We will shut in.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Great. Thanks for the clarifications, Commissioner Messner. Further questions for the panel? Seeing no further questions, does anyone desire to make a motion? Commissioner Ackerman, I was hoping you'd raise your hand. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so, and appreciate very much Commissioner Messner's comments, and look forward to continued attempts to use gas produced in beneficial ways, and thank you for the operators' attempts to do so. I would make a motion for approval, and Councillor Boudreau, I believe, is helping me with a couple of COAs as we talked about during our time period, or during my question time period. Councilor Boudreau, are we ready to enumerate those?
I believe so, Commissioner Ackerman. So we have the first COA, proposed COA associated with noise monitoring at the data centers. And the second would be a commitment to regular noise levels pursuant to Rule 423 between March 1st and May 1st. So does that sound right, Commissioner Ackerman?
Yes, that's correct. And just wanted to clarify that on that COA one, that my intent was that the Fulcrum would commit to noise monitors for the first 6 months of full operation of the data centers to ensure that noise levels are within limits.
So I would suggest a motion to approve as applied for with 2 COAs added. One being that Fulcrum will commit to noise monitoring for the first 6 months of the operation of the data centers to ensure compliance with noise level requirements. And the COA 2 would be Fulcrum will commit to ECMC rules for standard noise limits for drilling and completion operations between March 1st and May 31st to be protective of high priority habitats. Does that seem to capture it?
Yeah, thank you. Those certainly capture my intent, and definitely interested to ensure that the operator has the same understanding and is okay with that.
All right, we have a motion. Let's move to checking in with the operator before we get to a second. The operator understanding of the motion and comfortable with it.
Yes, Chair.
Then I would second the motion. Now we have a motion and a second, and that moves us to comments on the motion. Any comments on the motion? Seeing none, I would call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Excellent. Thank you very much to the operator for the work here, and to, again, our staff. Tons of work behind the scenes that no one sees, that helps us get to a place where we're able as a commission to volitionally take a look at things. So thank you very much. Commissioners, I believe that concludes the business of the day. Does anyone have anything else? Seeing none, look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned. See you at our next opportunity. Thanks, folks.